the name of our show.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to The Large Glass.
Welcome.
I'm Todd.
I'm Terry.
And we are here to bring you some more art this week. We're really excited. This is our 20th episode.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And you guys have been here for that. So we love that. There's Ben Hagenbush. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Pumpkin Audrey's here.
Hi.
Hello. Good
Can
to
everybody
see you.
hear us okay? Sorry.
Terry always has to do that. Soon she'll get used to the fact that I think it does work.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're about to chime in and say, yes, it's working.
Yes,
See,
it's
Ben,
working. Thank
Ben
you,
says
thank
it's
you,
working.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Ben. Thank you,
Okay.
Ben.
So, you can go ahead and do it.
Do what?
Do that thing.
Oh, I did something funny because I don't think it's funny. Actually, I'm kind of disturbed by it. But hey, Dave, what's going on?
Hi.
I realized while I was setting up that I've become a little self-conscious of my bald spot. I have a bald spot, and so I actually did something really hilarious. But you ready for a moment? For you early viewers, we are going to pull back the curtain, aka the green screen, and we're going to show you the setup. All right, so watch this. And this is how I found out I have a bald spot. You ready? Just for a second, though. Oh my God. This is us. You can see our wine. You can see everything we're doing here. But anyway, enough of that.
Yeah.
But that's how I figured out I had a bald spot. Just so
weird.
This is bothering me. Anyway, enough of that.
Well, I didn't even know that you did that until I sat down earlier and I was like, what's that?
Yeah, I put the camera back there and she's like, you can't cut to that camera. My hair's a mess in the back.
Yeah.
Mom's like, looking good. Thanks,
Looking
Mom.
good. Yes.
Did you see us cut away? Did you see my bald spot?
He's fine. You don't have a bald spot. All right.
Enough of that.
Enough of that.
We forgot. We lost our background sound. It's back though.
Oh, okay, good.
Background sound was off. So
you
we
need the bar
almost
sound.
sounded like, yeah, me and Dad. Exactly. Amanda Toolin.
Oh, thank you, Amanda.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
I thought something a little bit different than black. We felt like the black, I was just a floating head.
That's what I am right now.
So Todd's the floating head tonight. And I have a foundation. Nice red foundation.
Yeah, I think it looks very nice. I think it looks very nice. So we have a ton, 20th episode, and we had a lot to show you tonight.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because right before the show, there's usually that last minute scramble like, oh, this, and this. And one of us is like, wait, I'm not prepared for any of that. So that always happens.
Always.
So yeah.
Always.
Yeah. But it's okay.
The color makes your lip pop.
Oh, thank you.
Nice. Oh, Carolyn Thau just subscribed.
Thank you very much.
Carolyn, that's awesome. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We are
Yes.
pushing for our subscriptions to go up, and we're going to talk about that later.
Yes.
And there's Carolyn right there for us.
Front
Thank you.
and center.
Thank you. You're
Yep.
a great supporter, and we appreciate that. So let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Who's that? Button ZZZZZ has cheered 5 bits.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
That's
awesome. Wow, you guys are on. We barely got on.
We just popped on.
This is good. This is good.
Cool.
All right, so I've got a list of stuff to talk
You
about.
have a very overwhelming list, and plus he changed the orientation of his computer, so instead of looking here, now we're like...
Well, we needed more desk space. I'm trying.
I know.
It's a work in progress.
It's a lot of stuff around. So.
I have to say, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Mike Rader's show at the Brownstone Art Gallery. That was closing, and we encouraged you all to go see it. There was also a live talk that they did as a closing reception for that show. We were very pleased to have picked up. Mike had done a series of Topps baseball cards around the works that he had done in the show. I fell in love with them. They came with a limited edition print, so we ordered them, and they came, and we love them. So
Well, I have yet to see the cards because you're like, we can't open these.
Well,
It reminds me of the 80s and Star Wars figures. You know, it's like, nope, in the box, can't open these. So I haven't gotten my hands on them yet. I don't think I'm going to.
well, actually, if Mike is watching, he's going to chime in because he and I have been going back and forth a little bit on Instagram where I said, look, the boxes are sealed. They have little stickers on them. I said, I don't want to open them. He's like, if you don't open it, it's not art. And there he is. I'm brokenhearted. Oh, come on, man. You're brokenhearted.
You know what? I am too, because I want to open them up and like look at them and have a good time and see what's going on. You're like, nope. In the shelf they go.
Okay, I'll make you a deal.
In the shelf they go.
I'll make you a deal. Mike, you're listening to this right now. On next week's show, we will open up the cards.
We're going to unbox.
We'll do an unboxing of Mike Rader's Topps baseball card set on the show on episode 21. How about that? But until then,
I know.
They stay sealed.
That's true. But he's like that with everything. I was fortunate enough to get a book a couple weeks ago. That was a Myra Coleman book, and it was signed not only by Myra Coleman, but also by David Byrne. He won't let me crack the spine on it. He's like, nope. In the shelf it goes. So
Mike is saying, open them, Terry.
Yeah, I know. I know. Open it. This is Glenn, by the way. Glenn's on.
I hate username 67. Welcome, Glenn. Everybody, that is the same Glenn Lavertu that we've been talking about for weeks, and we gave away his piece to Carolyn Thau, who just subscribed for 3 months. So it's all coming together. And I swear to God, Carolyn, I'm driving that piece to your house.
It's all boxed up.
This week. It's all boxed up. It's ready to go. And it is coming. I swear it won't take as long as the last piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to be a little sheepish now.
Okay.
You must show them. Okay. So we will open them next week.
We will. That's something to look forward to. So
yes,
we can do
you
that
guys
on
will
the
get to
show
see
next
them
week.
all. I'll have to figure out a way, though, to get a camera to focus on them.
You have the one that orients above.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like when you're drawing,
Yeah.
we
All right.
could probably
Perfect.
set them up like that
Perfect.
and then lay them out.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Okay. So in other news, the hashtag roulette show on Saturday nights it's been getting better.
It's been getting better.
We're having fun with it.
It is a fun process. It's a slow process because there's a lot of, we need this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just realized we're missing.
Started because I always do.
We're missing something vital here. Keep going on about hashtag roulette, please.
Oh, well, it's a show that's a little bit slow going. Like, it's exciting. We spin the wheel, we get a hashtag, but you know how it is scrolling on Instagram or anything. It's a slow process because you're looking for stuff and eventually you hit on things, and sometimes you just hit on things and you're like, WTF. So that's kind of how this process works. But we've been finding a lot of really cool artists that we never would have found if we hadn't been doing this.
Agreed. And we're going to show a couple of them to you right now, right after I get done pouring this.
Yeah.
Right? Now, one thing we have been trying to get better at, and it's partially pandemic and it's partially the fact that it's really, really hard to make these pairings sometimes. But, part of the reason we have this show titled The Large Glass is because of Marcel Duchamp's piece. And the other reason it's called The Large Glass is because we like to drink wine on the show. But the idea was that we would pair the wine somehow with the region maybe the artist was from. And as we do shows like this, it gets harder and harder. But
it does get harder and harder.
Tonight we're having one Malbec and one Sauvignon Blanc since we're doing the red and white thing. So are you adequately poured? Should I pour for you?
I'll pour a little bit more if you don't mind.
Next week, The Large Glass can drink legally because we'll be 21.
We'll be 21.
Yes, thanks, Memory Vessel. It's good to see you, by the way. And one more. Should we do a little ASMR?
Yes.
Now, I don't know how well these mics do with the ASMR and our sound, but I'm going to crank it up a minute, so bear with me. Here we go. Ready? Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Hold on. Let me go back to normal volume here. All right. Episode 20. Cheers. Everyone is here with us. It's really nice to have all of you guys.
Yay.
Thank you. Cheers to you all as well.
Yes.
Your sound's great. Ben
good.
like that. Ben
Good,
like
good,
that.
good.
You got to put on some headphones and turn them up really. You get that tingling sensation in your brain. Okay. So why don't we show them some of the hashtag roulette people that we found,
let's
and
do
just
that.
quickly share a couple of those stories, because I think that was cool. Listen, you guys are all on Instagram. These are people you could follow, and we actually really encourage you following them, simply because, you know, we pick a variety of artists and we scroll through their feeds, and if we find that we really like them, we follow them, and I think that adds some variety and some really good visuals to what you do. You're not going to like all of them, but, you know, pick one or two.
Well, plus we've actually found artists to talk about through Instagram, so it wouldn't be unusual to find somebody that intrigued us to a degree that we really started researching them and put them up and did like a whole show on them or something like that.
Well,
So,
I would
of course.
absolutely do a whole show on some of these people. So this first person that we're talking about, we found, he's known as Draw Eric on Instagram, and he fills these sketchbooks with these really, like these really beautiful systematic kind of drawings. Some of them have like, you know, wires and components. But the thing that really fascinated us about him was he commented on it. It said, it's so hard to believe that all of this art is gone. And it turned out that his house was completely destroyed in the wildfires out west. And his Instagram, as you get back further in it, sort of catalogs that, and the work he did was really beautiful. And so we felt like we liked the work, number one, but we just had to follow this guy because his story is really quite interesting. He even shows a little piece of burned text that says, it's the only thing left of my art books, which was, you know, really quite sad. So that's Draw Eric, and I think he's definitely worth checking out. The next one that we found along the way is Pamela Weingard.
Oh, yes, she was awesome. She did a lot of medical and textile, when I say weaving, I mean putting them together.
Yeah.
And she did like a lot of embroidery on some pieces, but this is like she would take a page out of a medical textbook, transfer it to a piece of cloth, embroider it on, do a sculptural representation and some fabric next to it. And a lot of her pieces go that way. The further down in the Instagram you get, you can see her thought processes evolve.
Right.
Like you get to see it like a little bit more rudimentary, and then she goes a little bit more towards this way. And I love watching artists evolve and how they come to where they go.
Yeah, she's not afraid to admit that she's just experimenting in a lot of this work. So I love that about her. And I encourage you guys to follow. I think she's got some really interesting stuff going on there. So that is Pamela.Weingard. You can find her. All right, we got two more to show you. And this guy, who goes by Mazatli. We found him when we were looking up moleskin. I think the hashtag we were looking for was moleskin.
I think it was.
And we found this.
Well, what was interesting about Saturday night, the week before we started, and we weren't hitting things right away. As soon as we were typing in things like moleskin, we were getting so many great hits.
Yeah, sometimes we scroll forever and we get garbage.
Nothing,
it's just not garbage, but it's just not exciting.
Right.
This week it was like bam, 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 bam,
bam. And
everything
it was
was
like,
awesome.
wow. Yep.
So this guy Mazatli, who's from Mexico City, is actually a printmaker. He's working here with a micron marker, but his primary means of production seems to be lino cut or lino cut, however you like to say that. And so he's got some really interesting work on his website as well as his Instagram. His Instagram is _Mazatli_. So definitely check out his work. And let's see, we've got one more. This guy was cool.
This guy was very cool.
Yeah, this guy is known as AmiRocks73. Really cool, also found under moleskin. Really cool sense of layered space and thought processes. Good combination of text and image in there as well. So, I really enjoyed this guy's work. I told him I followed him, actually, that we found him on the show, and he got right back to me, and he was like, hey, thanks. So, go check out what he's doing and give him a thanks. We're not paying attention to the chat.
Oh, yes.
Mom says, love her work. She's talking about Pamela Weingard. Mom also asked if Audrey was banned from raffles.
Oh. No one is banned from the next
No one
raffle.
is banned from any raffles.
We're not going to ban anybody.
Yeah, we haven't banned
We've
anybody.
all been very good, so we're not going to ban anybody.
No, good. And Ben's like, look at that. He's like, microns are nice. Yeah, I've got a whole drawer full of microns. I love them. The roulette show is lots of fun. Thank you,
Yeah,
Audrey.
I think it's a lot of fun.
Thanks. Well, again, these are all works in progress, right? So 4 Instagram people for you guys to go check out. Give them a follow, and yeah. So, all right. So we are going to move on. We've got, what do we got? We got to go from here to what? I got to do news.
We can do the news.
We got to do some art news.
Yeah.
Right? All right. Let's see here. Let's get rid of that and let's go to, well, that's not right. Hold on a minute, everybody. It would not be the large glass if there was not some kind of glitch. Let's see. Where's my art news hanging out these days? There we go. There we go. Let's get rid of my Instagram finds. And there is Joe Biden. So, first of all, we're no longer in SUP discoveries. We are in SUP. What's going on? So, this week in the art news, I've got two things to talk about. Two things. Number one, Joe Biden has replaced the portrait of Andrew Jackson in the Oval Office with the portrait of Benjamin Franklin. I like this. Given that Andrew Jackson was, known for a lot of things, and depending on which side of the aisle you decide to go to in terms of what sites you read, you'll either find out that he was a man who pulled himself up by his bootstraps from an ordinary man to the president of the United States, or you might find that he was one of the most divisive presidents known in history and is the reason that we have the two-party system. He was only known for allowing Congress to pass one law in the entire 8 years he was president, and that had to do with getting rid of Native Americans. Not exactly a guy that I would model myself after, but to each his own. However, I do like that Biden picked Franklin. And the reason I like that Biden picked Franklin is Franklin was an innovator. He was an inventor. He believed in science. We need all those things right now. And if I may quote, there's two quotes that I have from Benjamin Franklin I'd like to throw out there just in celebration of this addition to the Oval Office. And they are, if I could find them, number one, love your enemies, for they tell you your faults. Perfect, right? If you love your enemies, they're going to let you know what's wrong with you. But better than that is one of my favorite quotes of all time, and that is, well done is better than well said. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And anybody who knows me for any of my classes or have sat down to have an art conversation with me, do it. Just get it done. It's more important than saying it or talking about it. So, two quotes from Benjamin Franklin. So, good job, Joe. Well done, Joe. Nicely done on the portrait. All right, let's move on from there. As you know, sometimes I get a little bit excited in my art news, and I tend to sort of maybe rant a little bit. I ranted last week with the Nick Cave installation up in New York, and I'm going to rant now a little bit on this one. Max Pearl did an article in Art in America about the teeter-totters at the border wall between the United States and Mexico. And he talked about them as an absolute disaster. He said the reason they're a disaster is because we don't really get it. And I have to say, I sort of agree with him. I agree with him and I don't agree with him. That's a great quote for class. I totally agree, Mike. Absolutely. Pumpkin Audrey's got some hearts up there because I knew she'd like the whole presidential portrait thing. So, open the mic Raider. I hate username 67. He's like, open the mic Raider. He's like, I don't want to talk about this stuff. Get to the Raider stuff. Anyway, in the teeter-totter thing, what Max Pearl kind of talks about in this article is, he's kind of saying that we use art, especially in this case, to not dig deeply enough into what's really going on here. And we show up, maybe we take a photo of ourselves to post on Instagram, we smile, we check off the box, and we go home. But the reality is that, there's going to be like kids that are on this smiling and enjoying themselves. And yeah, it is creating a moment that hopefully is subverting what's going on down there to some degree. But that little girl doesn't understand why that wall is there in the first place. And while, yeah, she's having fun and that's nice, and I hope you do get to take your Instagram picture there, I feel like there's something bigger going on here. And I hope that, and what Max Pearl says in his article is that the piece fails, right? That this teeter-totter piece fails to deliver its message. And I don't agree with that. What I think is that we fail. Okay, we fail to look deeply enough into what's really going on here, and we kind of treat this in a very sort of packaged, easy way. And I don't think that's really what it's about. Now, Ronald Riel, who's the architect who developed this piece, he was and should be proud of the way this was handled, how quickly it was executed, just in terms of, how quickly they slammed it together and put it into place. It was brilliant. right? And what it did, the townspeople that came over and started participating in this was a beautiful thing. But I think we need to really think about this on a deeper level and think about what it really symbolizes. So that's my rant about this and Max Pearl's article. I'm sorry to kind of get you down. Terry's like, what are you going to rant about tonight? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. So anyway, there's that. The chat is quiet.
Yeah.
The chat is quiet. See, I shut everybody down. All right. Well, anyway, why don't we... You want to do some birthdays?
We can do some birthdays.
All right, let's go to birthdays.
Well, you know, when we're talking about stuff like this, I mean, this is what's going on in the world. And you can't not address it, you know, because it becomes the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everybody has different viewpoints on it. I think it's great that you're bringing it to light. Usually I shy away from controversial things.
We talk about art. Art is controversial. All art is controversial.
Art is controversial, but I think I was even telling you today some stories.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah,
Should we go into those?
No, I don't really want to go into. Not yet. I'm still processing that thing. But anyway, so I think it's great that you're addressing it, and I think that this is the right forum for it, and all of that. But on a lighter note, because I love birthdays, and it is our 20th episode, and I'm going to pretend it's our birthday. So today's birthday, can I say today's birthday first, or no? We're not going to say today's birthday
Should we
first.
do the other ones first? I've got them stacked from today on out.
Sure, we can go ahead and start. Why don't you go ahead?
All right, so first, January 26th, that is today. We have Barbara Kruger, right? I don't know exactly how old Barbara Kruger is, but happy birthday, Barbara Kruger. And if you don't know Barbara Kruger's work, go look it up. You do know Barbara Kruger's work. She's done all those big text pieces in red, white, and black on sides of buses and galleries, basically making large statements about life, politics, your identity, so on and so forth. So happy birthday, Barbara Kruger. And this guy.
Is this the guy?
This is Keys.
This is Keys. Todd sent me this today in a text when I was at work. He's like, oh, it's this guy's birthday today. Never heard of him, but I love his name. This is Kees van Dongen.
Yes, Kees van Dongen. And what a beautiful portrait of this man.
And his real name is Cornelius Theodorus Maria Kees van Dongen.
Yes.
And he was born on this day back in 1877. He's a Dutch-French painter. They said that he was like a rough pointillist style, but it really was fauve. And these very girly portraits that I absolutely love.
Yes, Carolyn, very Hemingway.
Yeah. That's an awesome portrait. But I loved his stuff. I loved looking him up. I've never heard of him before.
I love the way his portraits of women are so beautiful and awkward at the same time.
Exactly.
And I threw one in there. They're just absolutely gorgeous. I love this guy's painting. So check him out.
Check him out.
He's long gone at this point, but his paintings are definitely worth a look.
They're almost as intriguing as some of the very stylized portraits, like when you think of Modigliani.
Yeah.
Or like those portraits just really suck you in, even though it's so abstracted from the true human form. So, and he's the same kind of abstraction there.
There it is, Mike. Kees van Dongen in the chat
Kees
for you
van
guys.
Dongen.
Kees, Kees. Love that name. All right, let's keep going, because beyond today, both of their birthdays are on the 26th.
Yep, today is their birthday.
But then we've got 3 people on January 28th.
Why we do, and they're big ones.
They are very big ones. A lot of really notable artist birthdays this week.
I don't know what order you put them in, so I don't know if we should do the order that they were actually born in. Maybe if you just put up their picture, I'll be able to say.
I'm not sure the order. I just know that...
Alice Neal.
Yeah, Alice Neal.
I love Alice Neal.
Another fantastic painter of the figure and people.
Her perspective was always very interesting, because usually she was either standing or looking at them head on, and then there was this great distortion with their bodies. I remember seeing one of her shows in Philadelphia about 15 years ago or so. It was a retrospective. And she painted a lot of famous figures in her day.
Yeah, and if you look just over her left shoulder, I believe that is a portrait in that group of people of her granddaughter, who I hate username 67, and I both went to grad school with, Victoria Neal, who she's done several paintings of, but never met Alice. So happy birthday, Alice Neal.
Yep, she was born on this day back in 1900, so she'd be 120 years old today.
121.
121. That's right. We're so over 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She painted the best portrait of Warhol. Yeah,
she did.
I love that portrait.
And that was post cholecystectomy.
What?
Well, he had his operation, you remember?
Oh,
I believe it
and
was
she painted him after that.
cholecystectomy. Yeah, I think so. But he died shortly after that particular surgery
He
from
did.
an infection. So
That word. The reason I stopped was that was a very large word salad.
Gallbladder.
Oh, got it.
Ripped out.
Moving on.
Next. Okay.
Klaus Oldenburg, happy
Klaus
birthday. He's
Oldenburg.
also on the 28th, and I love this picture of him walking down the street with a giant tube of paint, and there in the background is a woman who's
like, what?
what is
What's
going
that?
on there?
Love it.
So happy birthday, Klaus.
Yep, he was born on this day in 1929.
Nice. Okay. And the man.
The man himself, he was also born on the 28th, and he was born in 1912. And I guess I'll say his name, even though we all know who it is. It's
Jackson Pollock. Yes. Oh my God. Jackson Pollock's birthday. Happy birthday, Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
So that concludes our birthdays for today. The only one
Yeah.
we missed was Robert Motherwell was earlier in the week.
Yeah, that was January 24th.
Right.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't go without saying
Yeah,
that.
we shouldn't go without saying that.
Yeah.
Which actually was also my father's birthday, so I'm just gonna put that out there
Oh.
too, because he's such a great
We
artist.
said we were going to put one of your dad's paintings on the show, and we
that's
haven't
okay.
done that yet.
But we'll do that eventually. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right, good.
Anyway.
Okay, so let's see. That is over. So before we get into tonight's artists that we're going to be doing and talking about our subject tonight, we just wanted to mention, like we always do, ways in which you can support us. And we do have a new subscriber goal. So we are oh God, let me take that off there. We are going to be giving away one of my cabinet cards at 15 subscribers. Okay, so when we hit 15 subscribers, another cabinet card will be sent out. I would like to say, back on the Mike Rader note, that Mike Rader and I traded some cabinet cards, and I love that cabinet card you sent, so we'll be sending you one. But I just wanted to let me throw up an image of that really quickly. So this cabinet card will be in the giveaway. It's one of the smaller ones, but that is going to be when we hit 15 subscribers. So you could win that, even though it'll probably be Audrey or my mom, because they always seem to win everything.
It could be
It's
anybody.
not rigged. It's not rigged.
It could be anybody.
Carolyn won. Carolyn won.
Carolyn did win. Yeah.
Stop talking about it in open Mike's piece. Next week. We got to do
to
something.
tune in for 21.
We got to do something to bring you back.
We're
right?
legal. 21. We're legal, and we're gonna open Mike's pieces.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's good. And we're gonna. You know what? We should drink champagne that night.
We'll drink champagne
Or prosecco.
or prosecco.
Something bubbly.
Yes.
So Carolyn's got thumbs up. Ben says,
Thumbs
"Damn,
up.
Todd, that looks fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely love the cabinet cards.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, enough about me. Let's talk about some artists tonight. Do you want to see what we're talking about here?
We can.
Oops. Let's get rid of that.
So, when we were talking about how we were going to do this show, we
Here it
argued.
Here it comes.
Because I think it's funny because it came full circle. Like I had said something to Todd like, oh, what about this artist? I really love this artist. And I brought him to him and he was like, hey, that looks like this artist. We should do a show on the materials. And that's what we're doing. We're doing Material World tonight. And I was like,
Do you want me to sing Madonna? Never mind. Keep going.
okay. Yes,
Mike's
Mike, you nailed it. I love this guy. So this is my favorite series by him too. So this came up, and I think he does a lot of great, awesome pieces. And I actually wanted to do a whole show on him. And Todd's like, I don't know. I'm not really feeling like it's enough to talk about for a show. But he's like, he reminds me of the way in which he uses the materials reminds me of this other artist, and I'd like to do a comparison show on it. Yes,
Everybody's saying they want me to sing. Unfortunately, according to Twitch law, I'm not allowed to actually do any cover tunes because I can be held accountable under DMCA rules. So while I would love to sing Madonna to all of you, and I would do it fantastically well, I can't. Please go back to your.
No, that's it. But it was interesting that we were talking about that, and then you brought this other artist to me, and I was like, okay, I can see it. I can kind of see where you're going with this and why this is related and everything. And the funny thing is, you saw a video on this artist today, and you came around to my way, and you're like, I was wrong. This guy does have a lot of stuff. And it's so funny because right when I made a transition to thinking, wow, Todd, yeah, you were absolutely right. We should do it your way. You were like, no, you're absolutely right. We should do it your way. And it was really cool.
Art's just so glad that she gives you all the all the talk that happens here behind the scenes about
all of our
It's like,
stuff.
here's Todd's dirty underwear. He didn't like this artist, and now he does.
No, I didn't say you didn't like him, but
I think he's actually. I really like this artist. What I was talking about. Can I say my thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So this narrative would probably go better after they see who the second artist is.
Well, I also want to tell you that when you brought the other artist to me, I found a lot of other similarities.
Oh yeah,
like
no doubt.
Philanthropic similarities that I don't even know if you picked up on. So I was like, wow. I'm like, yeah, we should do these two together.
Well, then this is why we keep our research and what we're going to bring to the show separate, so that we can kind of have a more, organic dialogue about this stuff. All right. Yeah. So, xubing. This piece is called Backstory, and we're not going to tell you why just yet, because right now it looks like a backlit.
Isn't it beautiful? It looks like an ancient Asian scroll, hundreds of years old. It's got that calligraphy look to it, layers of color, a beautiful landscape. It really borrows from that tradition.
Yeah. Here we go. There's another one.
There's another one. They're enormous. They're beautiful. They're very well lit.
This is the part where you kind of want to say, wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, so this is a composite image of what Backstory looks like from the front, where you see it, and from behind with how it's made. So in some respects, we're getting into the making of here, which is part of what drives the piece, I think, for a lot of people. And he makes these things through very, very carefully placed pieces of discarded material, organic material, found objects that sort of live certain distances away from the glass screen on the other side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so what he does is he actually emulates this ancient form of calligraphic drawing. And he takes, instead of, how they're usually done on rice paper, he takes a milky slate of glass, and right behind it, he layers organic and inorganic materials. And he really relies on light and the positioning of these objects glued into this screen to present something that looks like this very old art form.
I hate username 67. It says you should check out Thomas Denninger. Deininger?
I feel like I've heard of him before.
Yeah, that's going on the list. And this is why we've wanted you here for the last 19 episodes. So we're glad you're here. Okay, so we have a couple of really awesome videos to show you. So you're going to see a little bit about his process actually in the works. So definitely, looking forward to that. So these are some back of the screen shots. You can see how some of the objects are sort of glued directly to the screen, and then others hang a little bit further away. These are more closely placed to the screen itself, so they sit, you can imagine their shadows are a little darker, they're a little bit more crisp, they detail the image a little bit more.
And the further away they get from the glass, the more
ghost-like
they are.
Sure.
He said the finer detail is usually placed up close to the glass.
Right.
And the color and stuff like that, and then the light kind of shines through it.
Right, and in some and look at this. This is actually the composition behind the glass. It's a disaster, right?
It's the backstory of the backstory.
It's the backstory, correct. And so, in some ways, what he's doing in a really interesting kind of way is he's subverting that meticulous craft, that hand-eye coordination that the scroll painter spent his entire life training to become a master at. He replicates with trash. And so on the one hand, from the front of the display, when you're standing in the gallery looking at this work, it almost seems like a throwback or a very respectful gesture to the beautiful scroll painting. But behind the scenes, it's a disaster, which in and of itself is a really interesting political statement on some level.
Yeah,
right?
It really is.
So, and this, I think this image actually really illustrates it really quite well. Let's see. And here he is, he kind of, and you're going to see a little bit in the video we're going to show now of him kind of pointing out some of his process. Let's see. How did this guy come up with this idea? Well, if you see the variety in his work and his studio practice, he's all over the place, and he really treats things, and by things I mean both objects, text, in a way that sort of defies their nature in a really strange kind of way. And that's a lot of why we're calling this show Material World, is they're using materials in a way that defies their nature in two different capacities, which we'll talk about. Mike Rader's saying, did Deininger show at Deitch? Glenn, you'd know that better than I would. I don't know. But let's keep going. Oh, so can we show the video?
Let's show the video.
I think that would be actually really good right now. So let's take a look at this. Let me see if I've got this up here first. Let's take a look at this xubing video. All right, turn your sound up. Here we go.
每个艺术家呢，他都带着他自己的文化背景。我相信你的任何经验都积淀在你身体里，就是当你需要的时候，这些东西自动就会跑出来。这将会有很多很多层。第一层呢，它其实是，等于是可以完成一些细节。
I think that might have frozen. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Hold on. Looks like we got a little lag. Hold tight. Let me just see if I can fix this.
这将会有很多很多层。第一层呢，它其实是，等于是可以完成一些细节。这个作品呢叫《背后的故事》。我们从前头看的，它是一幅非常优雅的中国古代的宋代的一幅山水画。这张画呢，其实呢，它是由光和空气构成的。我们把一块玻璃给它做成像一个宣纸的一个玻璃，然后我们在这个玻璃的背后呢，用一些物质、一些材料，树枝啊、cardboard 啊、什么纸张啊、报纸啊什么的，然后调节空间中的光的状况。比 如说这个，你看啊，稍微给点距离以后呢，它就会虚化。这个东西就很像这个墨在中国宣纸上。这些画其实等于是把这些作品的影子，或者说灵魂，又在这个曾经它在这个博物馆出现的这么一个场景中就再现。其实这里也是对中国的复制和临摹前人的绘画的一种态度。像中国人写古体诗，他就讲究啊，用前人的用过的句子放在自己的诗里头。而别人读你的诗的时候呢，他知道这句其实是从前代的某些诗人的句子里摘出来的，所以他这都跟那个咱们西方的法律是不一样的。西方法律讲究什么%多少跟别人一样你就是抄袭，但是这个东西呢，它就是一个括号，就是说这种规定不适用于中国的古体诗的创作，哦。
So at this point, he's going to go into a bunch of his other series, and we're kind of trying to keep this, well, I do show a lot of the next artist's work all across the board, but for him, the one work really stuck out.
That was the one. There's a couple of other pieces in which he uses specific objects or recycled works, like the Phoenix series that did utilize scraps at construction sites, very metaphorical, this beautiful sculpted phoenix, and it was featured in cathedrals in New York City and all over the world, and it traveled. So he does use other materials from other places. This one was just beautiful. I love backstory. It seems to have gone on for a number of years.
Yeah, he's up to he's got them numerically ordered.
Yep, and I love how he emulates it. I love what he was saying about plagiarism, and actually in Chinese culture, or Asian culture, he was saying how it's very respectful to almost copy a line from a poem into another poem. It's almost like a respectful thing. And here we're just like copyright infringement, and you can see generations and your roots in some of the artwork that he was showing. It was a very interesting.
And mimicry is the highest form of flattery. It's something we're taught, but then the minute we copy something, we're sort of like we're chastised for it.
We are.
And it's even. And it comes up a lot in so many different ways, from music you try to stream on a show, and yet artists deserve their due for their creative work, for sure, and it's really, really hard to slice that up.
It really is. Mike says,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Such a simple idea, like discovering penicillin. Just mold, right? Beautiful.
Do you know what and it's really true. It's really true. It's a simple idea. Mm-hmm. I realized we forgot to mention something much earlier, and I want to give a shout out real quick because it just popped into my head.
Okay.
But Christina McKinnon, who is a follower of ours, she sent us a message because their wife, she's often hanging out in the chat room and talking. She's a fantastic painter. Her husband, Ron, is a fantastic painter. They've been having a lot of internet troubles lately, and they haven't been able to come watch the show. So she sent an Instagram message, and she just wanted to support us. It was really nice. Yeah. She sent us a donation to support the show, and she said she thought we were doing great things, and she's sorry that she couldn't be here. I wanted to mention her.
Yeah, so just a little shout out to
big
Christina.
Thank you to you and Ron for that. So that's a big deal. Thanks. All right. So Carolyn's like, yes, love her work. Yeah, you can't not love her work.
And I love her as a person too. They're such great people.
They're both
when they come over. So
they're both wonderful people. Yeah. All right, let's take a cruise back to our art window here, and for a moment we're going to say goodbye to Mr. Xubing, and we're going to look at artist number 2.
See, we could do a whole show on him, but he wouldn't let me. That's okay. We'll do him later. But I love what you're doing.
Do you want me to go back to the rear cam again?
No, I don't. No. No.
All right, so the reason, it's not that I wouldn't let you, but I really thought it was interesting to think about the material components in how he works and how he defies, I mean, his idea is simple. His idea is beautiful, like Mike mentioned, right? But I really love thinking about the ways in which materials are used. And as a sculptor, that's something I'm thinking about all the time, right? And this next artist to me stuck out as being on the opposite end of the spectrum from this person, still elevating materials to an unexpected level, but in a much different sort of way, okay? So we're gonna talk about this artist. Anybody wanna try and put it in the chat just from a photo? Do you know who this is?
We'll give you a couple of seconds.
Now, the hardest part for me about this is, and I don't, and if she sees this video, I don't mean any disrespect by this, but I met her when I was in my, I don't know, I was just out of grad school, so how old was I? In my early 30s,
maybe,
right? And so we were all young and awesome, and now I feel like I look a lot older, and I look at this picture and I'm just like, oh, we look older. She's beautiful, but we look older.
She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah. Anybody want to take a guess?
Well, can I point something out? I found some common threads with xubing and her.
We're seeing if anybody types it in the chat real quick.
So we're talking about materials, and I was thinking about this too, and I noticed one thing right away that you noticed. They both won MacArthur Fellowship.
Yeah.
And what that does is it recognizes...
it's called the Genius Grant.
The Genius Grant. And it's people who really use resources, and they're all into sustainability.
Yep.
And they're doing all of these works that support climate, and they're using creativity to...
It doesn't always have to have
and it's for scientists, and it's for
creative
chemists,
practitioners, artists, musicians.
Architecture, right, and medicine, anything. And they both won it about 9 years apart. And I noticed that right away, and I was like, whoa, and we didn't even realize that. So these are two artists that have done a lot of work in that field, and they were noted for it.
No, she didn't visit us at RISD. She was actually going to VCU, Glenn, the school you were going to go to if you didn't go to RISD. So you would have met her there because you guys would have been in at the exact same time. Her name's Taradonovan. And Taradonovan is a real hotshot. She's shown at Pace. Her work is absolutely mind-bending when you see it in person.
I love how she's a hotshot, as you say, but she is so down to earth.
Oh my God, yeah.
The things that she says, like she was saying a whole bunch of things in one of the videos I was watching, and she's like, what's this thing about inspiration?
She says it in the video I'm going to show tonight.
Yeah, she's like, what's inspiration? An artist sits down and work. You don't wait for inspiration to come out of the blue and just
get
smack
to work.
You in the face. You just do.
Yeah.
And she was very down to earth and matter of fact about it, and this is what I do.
And so let's just talk a little bit about her material usage. So that piece hanging from the ceiling is all...
Any guesses what it's made of?
We're going to play the guessing game.
If we like guessing games. Okay, you give up? Okay, go ahead, Todd.
Mike says inspiration is for amateurs. Yeah,
Yes.
well, inspiration is somewhat of it is a myth, right? I mean, I think people that are not actively working in their studio think that inspiration will strike, right? And then they wonder why it doesn't strike. And maybe that's the reason why some people just don't pursue art, is because maybe they don't understand that you really just need to dig in and get moving.
You have to do.
These are plastic cups, hundreds of thousands.
Oh, close. Oh. Very good guess. Very good guess.
Plastic cups. Glenn got it. Glenn's the winner.
Okay, we'll give it to you.
So she visits this material on a number of different. It's what's her name? On a number of different forms. Taradonovan, yes, Taradonovan, and she creates these undulating seascapes. She creates these forms on the ceiling, and they're mammoth in size. And if you didn't quite get the scale from the last one, you're definitely going to get it from some of these, right? And some of these pieces, when you physically walk into the room, it's sometimes hard to understand what the material is. It physically becomes something else. It transforms because of the massive scale. Now, her ability to assemble these things, to me, borders on a godlike sense of care, patience, and just
you know what,
work.
though? There's a lot of flexibility with it. Like, that was one thing that she was saying, because she takes into contact with the context within all these installations. Like, she kind of goes into the room and she sees what she has to work with, and it's not precise. She doesn't do diagrams. She doesn't draw it out. She just gets to work with this.
Yeah.
With the cup series, she does these stacks of cups, and what she's most interested in is how they're reflecting light, how they absorb light,
Absolutely.
how they throw it back, how some stacks of cups take more of the light in and make it more opaque versus the translucence of individual cups. So all of that is she takes into account, but that was one of the things that she really likes. She doesn't go in there and say the dimensions are going to be X by X. That's not how she approaches the artwork.
Right. And I love that each installation is going to have its own individual life, and so you'll catch it in different forms. Glenn says, I saw her retrospective at the Institute for Contemporary Art in Boston. It was great. I found it strongly political. Oh, yeah, I saw that cup show in Chelsea. It was amazing. It's funny. She mentions that. She's like, I'm not making works about the environment. I'm not making the works about sustainability.
She was actually just talking about that. There's a couple things that she likes about the material. It's cheap. It's mass-produced. It's
readily
accessible.
available.
It's readily available. That's actually what she was going for. She wasn't going for an environmental standpoint or a political standpoint. She liked it because she could get a whole bunch of it.
But to Mike Rader's point, just because she's not making it political doesn't mean it isn't political.
Okay.
Right?
That's true.
Right?
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But these were her motivations for using these things. Plus, she was also looking at like I was saying, the reflectivity and the translucence. She didn't like things that were like any definitive things beyond that. Like she was saying that, like, for example, plastic straws. She loves plastic straws because you can just see through them, and she loved the way they were reflecting light.
Right.
And they just kind of take on their own life.
Well,
like when she's
and I've seen
creating.
I've seen her work in person several times, and there's a piece that comes after the next few slides that's really going to illustrate that to some level. When you see this piece or any of these types of pieces that are the ceilings in that gallery are probably 22 feet tall or 20 feet tall minimum. These are monumental pieces, and they are made out of note cards that are all hand layered, stacked, and glued in particular orientations to give that cornered texture moving all the way around the piece. Here they are really close up, and that every single one of those is individually hand glued. Mike says, my baggage, I guess. But my thinking on that, Mike, is we all bring that to the table. And
it's a really good observation, too. Maybe in a way she was doing it that way. And she just...
When you put something out there in the world, and Duchamp said this, right? In the Creative Act, which is an essay he wrote about the actual physical act of making art, the viewer completes that piece, right? That's the viewer's job, is to complete that piece. Otherwise, it's not...
Yeah, and that's actually one thing that she had said in one of her interviews. She said that she really appreciates it when the viewer does bring that baggage with them, or that perspective with them, to kind of, put something into the sculpture that she didn't even see herself.
Right. So Glenn says, didn't she once hang out in your studio in Brooklyn? Yes. My studio mate actually went to school with her, and they're very good friends. She used to come over a bit. We hung out a little bit. Right as she was blowing up at Pace, she was switching galleries to Pace, and that's why I have a little bit of familiarity with her. And Pumpkin Audrey says, how long would that take? Well, she's got an army of assistants on these nowadays, and rightfully so. That doesn't make it any less her work. I think that, you need that in order to create something like this, right? Ben's like, how diligent. Yeah, exactly. And then, so she's attracted to materials, right? And that's what the show is about, is these materials. And what she'll do is she will take that material and just blast it into a kind of transcendence where the material becomes something else, right? And so you come around a corner and you see a form like this in the gallery, and it's like you were saying, Terry, it's absorbing light, it's reflecting light, it has its own luminescence, it has its own sense of life about it, right? And so you encounter it as one thing, and then you get a little bit closer and you start to realize, oh, wow, this is plastic. This is all acrylic rod.
Yeah.
Right? And so you make the identification.
Is this the one, though, that's made of straws?
No, we're getting to that one.
Okay.
Then you make the identification, and then all of a sudden, once you have that identification, it takes on almost two lives. It's the form that it was when you walked into the room, which is one thing, and then it is this mass amalgamation of the form. And she mentions this in her video, but this is the thing, and now I'm going to talk about why I sort of recoiled at xubing a little bit as a solo for tonight's show. And that is this. There's a term in art called gestalt, and gestalt is this notion that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And this work does that tremendously well, meaning it's acrylic rod, but I'm going to take so much of it that it transcends acrylic rod and becomes something greater than what it actually is. In xubing's work, it does that too, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't do that, but I don't think it does it as well. And the reason is, with xubing's work, yes, it is a nod to the tradition of Chinese scroll painting. Hang on. You're coming after me. You almost bit me.
I'm sorry.
She almost bit me.
All right, go ahead.
It's a nod to Chinese scroll painting, right? The technique that he discovered to get it there is really quite beautiful, no doubt, right? And the fact that it now takes on this new layer of sort of being one thing but another, it's definitely a fantastic piece. But I feel like once I get that, I've got it. And it slams on the brakes at that point for me to some degree, right? Because the whole and the sum of its parts sort of have almost an equal sign between them. Almost. It does transcend that a little bit, but I don't think it does like this. This is a much more simplistic act that I think elevates higher.
Right, but don't you think that that's her intention, like to do that, whereas his intention is not to do that?
I don't know. I don't know what their intentions are.
Right.
She says her intention is not to make her work about the environment, but it absolutely is.
Right. Well, but she's definitely more abstract, whereas he's coming up with compositions that we can recognize. So the comparison in that way doesn't seem fair, because I almost feel like the intention
I'm not saying that she's
different.
Good and he's bad.
I'm not saying that you're
I'm not
saying
doing
that
that
either.
What I'm doing is that I felt like that for xubing, for me, the material transformation was a much more interesting topic than just the work, right? Because I felt like he did something absolutely brilliant in finding his materials and bringing them to that place, right? So I'm not discounting him at all, at all. I think the work is fantastic, and that also that work of the book,
the book with the
story,
characters, yes.
Oh my God, I loved that piece.
Yes.
So this is not necessarily about what I like and what I don't like.
Right.
This is about where I think the more interesting angles to talk about their work lies. So I wasn't shutting it down for that.
No, I think from a materials perspective, there's a lot to see. She left the room for my baggage. He does not.
Ah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now I'm opening those cards, God damn it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right, so I remember walking into this very gallery and seeing this piece. However, my first initial reaction to this piece was much further back than the camera angle allows for. And what you see is what appears to be a deformity on the wall. You're like, what's wrong with the light back there? Because the dimensionality in that space back there for your eye was much more sort of illusory than the camera is allowing for. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is the camera's simplifying this image a little bit. You walk in the room and you're like, what's wrong with the wall? And then you slowly work your way up to it and you realize that it's in fact something. And then you get closer and you realize they're drinking straws laid on their side. So what's pointing at us right now are all the holes. All the holes.
Is this almost like, you remember those things back in the 80s that were super popular? They were the pins and you pushed your face into them.
Oh, totally.
And then they totally went out and
Yeah.
you had the relief of your face.
Yes.
That's what this reminds me of.
Yes, and I would imagine...
Not that I'm supposed to be like finding a...
No, I think it's hilarious. And that's actually a really good reference, like a pop culture reference to this. Because, yeah, they all stick out. And for some reason, some stick out more than others in different places. places. I don't know if those batches where straws were slightly longer or if that's just the way they laid. Maybe because the little crinkly part where you bend them pushed them out a certain distance. I don't know. But they create this undulating form on the wall that is an optical experience that is just... I remember that, loved it. Yeah, that piece, you just can't get that thing out of your head once you see it. It's really impactful. Let's scroll through a couple more of those. Ben says, oh my God, yes, I love those. This one, she does these 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot cubes of materials. This one's toothpicks.
This one's toothpicks.
There's no binder in this whatsoever. They're jam-packed into a box mold, and then the box mold is removed. Some do fall to the floor. I believe the piece is recreated in place when it needs to be, because when they pick this up, it does shift.
Yeah.
It's not it's solid, but it's not solid enough to be moved.
Wow.
And then she's got identical ones in straight pins as well as glass, like safety glass that's been fragmented. I don't have an image of that one here.
Oh, wow.
So, and then there's this one, which I also saw. I saw this one at Pace. This is torn and layered tar paper, and it creates this fantastic landscape. Now, what's beautiful about this is as minor inconsistencies in the thickness of the paper pile up, it creates this undulating topography, right? And this is just mind-bending. And the thing that really hits you when you walk in the room, other than the size and the landscape and the material, is the smell. The smell of this is overwhelming and really quite a big part of the piece. And if she says she's not making things about environmental or sustainability or whatever the case may be, I cannot get away from that with this piece. Just can't.
Yeah, well, especially since given the fact that they did get the MacArthur Fellowship and she has been recognized for her creations in sustainability and environmentally friendly, dialogues.
Yeah.
So, I don't, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the tar pits. I didn't think of that. That's a great reference, Audrey.
Ooh.
For sure.
I always wanted to see those.
Let's have a look at a video.
Yeah.
You want to see?
Yeah,
you want to see a Taradonovan video?
Yep.
Let's see. I have to make sure that we are in the right place before I throw this over. Otherwise, I'll look unprofessional. All right. Have a look at this. Turn your volume up, and we'll play, I think, the whole one on this one. This is not very long.
Not that there's anything specifically special about everyday materials, but I was initially drawn to them because they were easily accessible, inexpensive, and mass-produced. I work to a point that the material transcends itself, and it creates a gestalt of sorts. I'm generally drawn to materials that have a low profile in the sense that they don't have a very identifying color or marking on them. I'm initially drawn to translucent or light reflective materials. What happens with the light and the interaction between the material and the light is partially what activates the sculpture. I mean, they're all very activated by the movement of your body. I think inspiration is a joke. I think real artists sit down and get to work. Do people think that, it just kind of comes from the sky and hits me? I work very much like a scientist or architect in the studio. I sort of clean everything up, isolate the material, and then perform experiments with it. It's a very playful act. I never make drawings or sketches. I feel very much as though the sculptures are a bit like drawings themselves. The pieces can expand and compress given the architectural particulars of each location. So they're very flexible and malleable in that way. I don't really think of them as decorative. I think that there's something magical that happens in the work that happens for me in the studio and then hopefully happens for the viewer the first time they see the works. I think art it's different for everyone, but it's different for every viewer and it's different for every artist. My intention in my work and my investigation and curiosity is really based on providing a challenge for myself to figure out what I can make things do and what I can discover, and simply relying on the nature of something, the physical peculiarity or particularness of any given thing. I'm not trying to make comments on, mass-produced items or the environment or nature per se. I feel like my work, in a sense, it's mimicking the ways of nature, not necessarily mimicking nature. There's a reason most of the works are untitled. I got to a point where I felt like titling them kind of pigeonholed them into a very specific idea, and that's not at all what my intent is. I want people to bring their own associations to it and feel what they feel and experience what they experience from their life.
Okay. I love that. I think that, first of all, that was beautifully done.
Yeah, very
right?
beautiful.
Really nice survey of her work.
Yeah.
And again, I think that there is a kind of, I like the distance between these two artists, but I like the fact that they both reflect back on this transformation, right? And how differently they do it.
Yeah.
So.
I do too. In looking back on these choices and seeing the correlation with materials, maybe you were right.
Oh my God, I wish I could hit a button that made like a siren drop down from the freaking center of the thing, and it was just like, we're recording this moment. I'm going to make a highlight reel of her saying you were right. We'll record
It'll be on a loop. You were right.
We'll record it to dubstep.
You were right. You're right. Yeah. She is amazing. They both are amazing. They're both amazing artists that you should check out on your own because they have vast bodies of work. Xubing has some great stuff behind him as well. That was just one of the pieces that happens to be my favorite.
What was the name of the book piece, the one with the text?
Books from the Sky.
Books from the Sky. This is another fantastic piece by Xubing you should check out. He basically created... And he grew up learning the art of calligraphy, right? So he was a hand letterer. He understands how to use the tools. He's a master calligrapher, right? So what does he do? He creates an art piece that defies the very nature of what it is he's using, just like he did in his other piece, by creating all of these texts. And I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of characters and pages of text. However, every single Chinese character used in this text is artificial.
Yes.
He invented it.
And he really messed with a lot of minds.
He did.
He was doing that because the people who were viewing this and they understood the characters, they started to question whether or not
he had a problem.
He had a problem, but they didn't even question that. They were questioning whether or not they
had a problem. Yes.
They were like, "Oh my God, am I this stupid?
I can't read this."
Like he really manipulated
it had that
the thought process.
Yeah, it had that level of genuineness to it that it actually made the viewers say, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I read this material?"
Yeah, it like made them question their intellect.
Right.
So it was a really interesting psychological piece.
And I think
it's gorgeous too because the calligraphy itself. Sometimes those characters take. I mean, they're drawings. I love text. I think text is visually appealing. I look at text as drawing sometimes.
It is. Well, it is.
It truly is.
They're small symbols.
Small symbols.
But what I love about it is, like the backstory pieces, they're a nod to a Chinese tradition of making that he sort of manipulates. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a good piece. It's
Fantastic.
A good piece. Well, if you're here and you haven't followed us yet, please click the follow button. It actually helps us out. And we're going to be messing around with some new things hopefully for next week. And I don't want to put this out there too much. Keep coming back to Twitch to watch us, but there's a chance our live broadcasts are going to be going out over more than one platform. So we're looking to stream also to things like YouTube and to Facebook, all at the same time. So the broadcast will be live in multiple places. However, that's tricky. And as you know, with me and all of my technological failures through this show, through all the time we've been doing this, just when I get it right, I want to go mess it up and do it somewhere else. So give us time on that, but that might actually make the audience grow a little bit. And really, we're mostly looking at this from the standpoint of, how do we get more people to watch us? So tell your friends. Go out there and tell your friends to come and watch this show and participate in that chat, because we love that dynamic, that back and forth with you guys. It's beautiful, and we think that really contributes to what we're doing. Like Mike and Glenn, now that you're here, and Ben and Pumpkin Audrey and Mom and all you people that have been throwing stuff into that chat all this time.
Amanda Toolin.
And Amanda Toolin, oh my God.
Very faithful follower.
Yeah, Amanda Toolin.
You guys are great.
One of our fierce moderators who kicks people from the room every once in a while. So anyway, we appreciate all of you. And wait, people are... Memory Vessel, who's still here. You hadn't said anything in a while. I wondered if you had left.
And Carolyn. Yeah.
I tell two people and they tell two people. And Carolyn and all of our subscribers. And thank you so much for that. So next week, we are going to open Mike Rader's cards.
We are going to do an unboxing.
An unboxing of Mike Rader's cards. And we will, of course, bring you another artist or two next week as well. Don't forget to maybe come Saturday night and watch #roulette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually really fun. And the more you participate, the better it is. And I love finding new artists. I know it takes a little while. I gotta say, I wear false eyelashes. By the end of the show, the eyeliner's all the way up in the creases, so we can do a bet on when the eyeliner goes up in the creases or whatever.
Like large glass is sort of like our casual barroom conversation about art. She goes on that game show and she's just like
the 70s. Those 70s game shows were so much fun. Price is Right, Vanna White, all of that kind of stuff.
What was the one with the devils?
The whammy?
No, not the whammy. No, the one.
Devils.
Yeah, they would spin this wheel and these cards would fly around and there would be like
Joker's Wild.
Joker's Wild.
Oh, there was that one too. Now we're really dating
that game
ourselves.
show scared the hell out of me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there were so many good ones, but we get all dressed up for that one and we just scroll and drink. And I start drinking before we scroll. So then I look back on the show and I'm like, oh, I should have cut myself off a little sooner. But anyway, come join us on Saturday.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. We will see you next week on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock as usual. And thanks again. All right. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.